How did your high school crush turn out as an adult? I remember walking up to her and asking if we could talk in private, and she said you can say what you need in front of everyone. Her group of friends were all around. So I asked if she wanted to go on a date. She burst out laughing and said no. Shit was rough, man. Looked her up last year and she's a cage fighter now. What? Began acting. It's weird, every so often I'll see a commercial or something and be like, oh, hey, I know them. My crush is an incredibly sweet person, so I am glad. My crush turned into a self-righteous prick who still lives with his parents. He became livid when he found out my husband and I had a baby. I apparently was supposed to be his backup plan if he couldn't find anyone better. Mine was my best friend. She turned out to be a pedophile. She always liked younger guys, like when she was 17 she had a 13-year-old boyfriend, which was weird, but we were kids and didn't think about it much. Turns out she continued to like younger teens as she grew into her 20s and 30s. He's an attractive gay man. I am none of those things. Same with my crush. He was my first serious crush and my first slow dance at a middle school dance. Now he's gay, attractive, was in the military, and now own a photography studio. He does some great headshots. My only GF in high school was my crush. Her mom banned her from dating me after about a year because my GF admitted to her mom that we were fooling around. This was about 20 years ago. She's still living with her mom, no kids, and as far as know never again dated seriously after her mom broke us up. Still has the same job from high school too. It's like her mom went way into protective overdrive and my former GF never grew up. It was one of those days where they just suddenly pop in your head and you decide to try and look them up on Facebook. Found him. He ended up being a pilot. Added him and we became Facebook friends. Turns out he has a flight attendant girlfriend and they were traveling together, and then few months after being FB friends they shared the news they were having a baby. Haha. An insanely talented molecular biology researcher at Boston. And she's still insanely attractive. Haha, my husband. Our first marriages didn't work out and we reconnected after our divorces. If only I would have confessed I had a crush on him in high school, might have saved myself a lot of trouble. LOL. I was a freshman and had a crush on a senior. To add to it, she was a cheerleader and her brother played QB for the football team, and got a college scholarship. She showed up at a football game a couple of years later with a baby in tow. She's married now and back in her hometown. That's about all I know. Dead by 32, drugs. I'm only 8 years out of HS and with a class of 90, over 10 are dead because of alcohol and drugs. There must be something in the water. Edit, to make it worse, we were the only school for a county the size of Maryland. By the time we graduated, half a dozen died. More just kept dying. More than 10 if you count freak accidents. We really try to die. LOL. She ended up getting knocked up by a freshman shortly after we graduated. A college freshman or a high school freshman? High school. She's still hot, successful, and wealthy entrepreneur, and married someone with the same first name as me and who quit his job to brew beer. I crushed on her for a bit, didn't think she was interested so I dated others, then come to find out she crushed on me senior year. I was too dumb and blind. We connected freshman year of college, she wrote me letters, and by the time I wised up she had moved on. No one to blame but myself. Found her on Tinder, she said I was hot. Pointed out that I was that loser she used to know in high school. Had a big laugh. Been a little over a year, now we send each other memes and hang out occasionally when the pandemic isn't being a bitch. They both ended up as great guys. One has a huge family and is a minister. The other only has one child and is a college professor. Both married nice people and are happy. They were really good guys in high school and ended up being really good adults. I've got both of them on Facebook and we keep in touch peripherally as we stayed friends over the years. I don't know about you guys but I had way too many crushes in high school. He's doing good for himself. He's grown emotionally, has a seemingly healthy relationship with a longtime girlfriend, and is working healthfully on all his career and personal goals. My first high school crush who sat next to me in freshman year English was a really cute punk rock girl, and she's gone on to become an incredibly hot fitness model. I had two unrealized crushes in high school. One is a teacher and musician. She is married and has either one or two kids. We've kept in loose contact via social media and ran into each other at a night party shortly before she got married. I was introduced to her now husband as favorite ex ever. He seemed like a decent dude and I'm happy for her. I believe the other became a US attorney. I have not heard from her since Google and almost because a social media thing. I imagine she's still very productive and would be disappointed in my life choices. Went on to be a teenaged model for hair products, graduated from Yale, toured Europe, opened her own successful ceramics company that is sold worldwide and is often written up in magazines. Makes me feel like shit every time I think of her. Became a professional cheerleader, died of breast cancer at 34. Googling names from high school is crazy. Still hot AF yup, still doesn't know I exist too. Nuisance queen, you just made me remember how I feel when I have crushes. Thanks for the memories. His friend murdered him over a girl. I had a childhood friend, he and I both the same name, so we called each other by first name last name initial, who got killed in a similar situation. He was only 24. It was fucking senseless, and the kid who killed him is going away for a long time. Was it worth it, buddy? Hot douche who doesn't really do much except go to the 9ym. To be fair, that's how he was in high school, I just liked it back then. I briefly worked with mine and didn't realize it was her until I left for another job. She looked almost unrecognizable, but it was 15 years after I last saw her. She's married with a couple of kids now, so pretty standard life I guess. Going to an all-boys school sucks for having realistic crushes. However, ran into one of the teachers years later and she still looked bellissima. My English teacher still looks fine as fuck. Mine was ancient back in 1985. If she's still around now, she must be a vampire. God bless you, Mrs. Cunningham, you put up with me, tried your best, and he still turned out shit. I met her in 1987. We got married 5 years ago. We used to go to the same punk shows, that's where met. Ended up committing suicide a few years after high school. She was a teacher and got caught having an affair with a female student. One of them is homeless and a druggie. It's very sad. The other one is famous in his home country, is a best-selling author, and is regularly on TV. Don't have a crush on him anymore, but I'm glad we are still friends, and I'm happy for how well he's done. I guess they balance one another out. My friend's high school crush was Tom Holland. Like they went to the same school. She has a dog and I don't. I had several. One of them is still a close friend, and he became me a primary care doctor. He also officiated my wedding. I have no idea what happened to another one. We didn't really have overlapping friend groups and she doesn't do social media. One of them is a math professor now, so that's pretty cool. My biggest crush in high school was my longtime neighbor, but it also fizzled out pretty quickly after we went to homecoming together. We're still good friends, and our families still keep in touch. He's also the guy who introduced me to my husband. She passed away our senior year, 6 months after she agreed to marry me after we graduated. Sad face. I never made a move in high school. About 7 years after graduating, I saw her on social media and said what the hell and asked her out. We've been dating for about 2 years and I'm about to pop the big question. There was a girl I really admired for a while. She didn't really give me the time of day after freshman year though. She was co-valedictorian and hugged me as I crossed the stage at graduation, and no one else got one. I'm still really confused about that 6 years later. She went on to med school and is either married or at least engaged to a guy she met there. Overall she's doing really well, and I'm happy for her. You made me check, and she is actually a very successful artist and an art teacher at a renowned university in France. She even got decorated for her work, Chevalier d'Arts et de Lettres. Back when I was younger and crushing hard, I got on AOL Instant Messenger and had gotten my crush's screen name from a friend. I worked up the nerve to start a conversation with him, and soon after some awkward small talk he sent me a message in Comic Sans, black background, red lettering, and in French. I then went to Google for translation and found out he had just called me a pig, in French. Being a seemingly awkward and chubby teenager, I was literally crushed. The heartbreak was only made worse by remembering that a few weeks prior I had selected to take French class the next year and couldn't change it. Years later, now that I've blossomed, he follows me on every social media platform, has reached out a couple of times to try and flirt/hang out. Hard pass. I believe he's moved away and is a teacher now. Overdosed and died last year. I got to see him before he was taken off life support with a really good mutual friend we shared, organ donor too. It was surreal seeing him dwarfed by all these machines. He had one of the largest hearts I've ever come across. Still a 10 for looks. I'm sure she kept on as the amazing, kind person she is. She moved to another country, speaks multiple languages and is more successful than Limajined. She seems happy, but we haven't talked since the time I told her how I felt about her about 20 years ago. I had 3. 1 from the first 2 years and 2 from the last 2. The first one is now F2M trans, who walked to Colorado to join a cult/commune. He is now in Arizona recording rap albums. The second girl moved to Florida and lives in a swamp. She periodically hits me up to tell me she misses me, how dumb I was that I didn't follow through, that we should get married. The third was a missionary. She wasn't really into it once she grew up, came back home, and I introduced her to one of my closest friends. They've been married for 15 years. 0/3. She ended up dating and marrying the guy who bullied me all through middle school and high school. They seem like a functional family from what I see on social media. You were 2 murders away from being Snape. My high school ex randomly sent me a text years after we split up that went, "I know you don't like metal, but I thought you'd like this," and a link to a clarinet cover of a metal song I played in HS. Little did he know that I hated playing clarinet and I was now a total metalhead. We reconnected through Facebook, though I can't stand FB anymore, when in our late 40s, and now she is my wife. She's still beautiful. Just checking in to confirm that I was no one's high school crush. Carry on. She turned out great, she married me. We actually met in kindergarten. Moved back to his home country, committed homicide during a robbery attempt and ended in jail. Never heard of him since then. One I don't keep track of at all, I'm not sure what she's up to. The other I married, she turned out awesome. She was aware then, over 30 years ago, but it was unrequited. We've been in casual contact through Facebook for the past several years, and once before that my wife, at the time, and I had her and her husband over for dinner. From what I can tell, she's grown into a person I probably would have been happy with. It's nice to see my high school perspective got a few things right. I think we'd be good friends if we lived closer. She appears to be living a good life with her husband and family. With my second wife, I'm happier than I could have ever imagined. Life worked out well. Harvard. Degrees in writing and medicine. Became a leading surgeon in a major city. Extremely proud of her. Always had her on a pedestal. I guess with good reason. Still cute as heck, one of the kindest and most sensitive people I know, and still one of my best friends 15 years later. He's also recently divorced. His wife was gay but needed time and support to come to terms with it, and now he and I are slowly testing the waters. What started as a crush has matured into a deep and rich friendship, and however it may unfold, I am so grateful to have that relationship in my life. My crush is just a text message away. But intentionally don't message her, don't want to know how she turned out to be, what her life is now. I guess I still want to remember her as my innocent and cute darling from high school. Pretty good. Seems to have her life together, although she had a few setbacks. She's gone back to uni since job prospects in her field kinda sucked, but seems to be really enjoying it. She's dating me though, so clearly her judgment sucks. Very well. Had joined the military and served for a number of years, was in after Vietnam and out before the Gulf War, so I'm not sure if he actually saw much active duty, and then settled in Korea where he trained in Taekwondo and did a lot of professional fighting, and won a lot of awards. Attained the rank of Grandmaster and returned to the US and opened a very successful school that specializes in TKD and Hapkido. Has opened additional locations, and is currently looking to open one in our old hometown. I imagine that will happen post-COVID.